Great. So just to run through the agenda, as I say, I'm going to give a brief introduction. I'm going to give a bit of an update on what's going on at Boffin as well as one or two developments. Then I'm going to pass over to Tom Wilkinson, who's going to talk in detail about the trial protocols this year and the involvement of Yen, who's going to pass over to Marcus, who's going to talk about uploading trial plans onto FarmPep. And then we've got James Pittman, who's going from Farm Carbon Toolkit, who's going to give us a bit of background on that and an update on how to get sorted with Farm Carbon Toolkit. And then Sky is going to talk about our new exciting Trialist app and how that's going to, for those who have been with us for a few years, how that's going to make your life so much easier. So just to give you a brief update on things with Boffin, all things Boffin. As you know, we've got four. Well, as I hope many of you know, we've got 4 DEFRA-funded projects, of which this is one. We've also got Slimers in slugs. We've got Truth, which is a soil and root health, and we've got our new project Probity, or relatively new Probity, which is in precision bred crops. And many of you are involved in some of these projects as well, which is fantastic. If you're not, then do find out more about it. But we have a 5th project, which has just launched off the ground. This is in the new precision bred round of DEFRA, of the DEFRA Farming Innovation Programme. LLS arrays, it's on oilseed rape, and this is another one on precision breeding. Brings to a total the projects that we're involved in, 4 of which we're leading, to just over £14 million. So that it's a considerable chunk of research, and a lot of that is being spent on-farm trials. So that just shows how important you guys are. Just briefly to give you a little bit of an insight into the LLS arrays. It's on light leaf spot. It's a £2.5 million DEFRA-funded 3-year project, and it's going to bring the first precision-bred oilseed rape onto farms. So this is the first time across Europe. England is the only place where we can grow precision-bred crops. It's on light leaf spot. Those who grow oilseed rape will know it's a very tricky disease to control. It costs the industry up to £300 million a year, one of the reasons it's very tricky to control is that as soon as you introduce resistance through genetics, then the pathogen morphs and overcomes that resistance. Well, this precision bred line will change all of that. It's got reduced susceptibility. The pathogen can't even take hold. But on top of that, we're not going to be relying on the genetics. There's a new decision support tool. There's going to be a new approach to on-farm trials as well that ADAS have developed, and we're going to be rolling out in this project. It really is a very exciting project to be involved in. And there's some very new tech coming over from US-based Cebus, who will lead the field in oilseed rape, or canola, as it's known in the States. They've got some really interesting traits that they have introduced commercially in the States and Canada, and they're bringing some of that technology here for the first time. This technology hasn't even got out of the labs in the UK or Europe. They've already got it in the field, and we're going to be trying some of that tech. It's going to be very, very exciting, this involvement. All the European breeders are also very involved. So this sets us up to be here in the UK as a test bed for precision bred trials. So it complements our Probity project really nicely. Very, very exciting project. So do look out for more of that if you grow oilseed rape or you want to. Just also to highlight Adopt as well. The feedback is that it's been very successful and quite oversubscribed as well, with some really great schemes that have already started and got underway, and so on. So if you're interested, and you've got a particular project in mind, you'd be interested in leading a project, you get up to 100 grand for a two-year project. And we are facilitators. We're very keen to hear from you and to develop your plans. We've already got some that have been approved, including one of our Pulse Pioneers, who's got a project that they're going to be starting shortly as well, which is very exciting. So do get in touch with us about that. Also, I'd like to quickly highlight Boffin Growth Partners, which is something that we're going to be developing this year. And this is a new community interest company to take on the management of on-farm trials. The idea of this is that it's owned by and for its members. So you'd be very much involved, not just in doing the trials, but in the ownership of the company and any value that comes from it as well. We are looking to talk to commercial partners about growth shares and developing ideas around that so that you actually benefit from the upside of the trials that you're taking part in. And we want it to become an independent research organisation and be recognised for the value that you put into farmer-led research. So if you want to talk more about this, then do get in touch with me, and I'd be more than happy to discuss it with you and get your ideas. So at the NCS project, again, thank you very much for joining as a Pulse Pioneer. For those who have been with us before, thank you very much for your loyalty. We're really looking forward to working with you again. For those who are new, I hope that I can quickly skip through some of the key aspects of the NCS project so that you get a clearer idea of what you've let yourselves in for. So this is the largest project that we're involved in. I think it's one of the largest across the Farming Innovation Programme. And we've got 17 project partners. It's an enormous bed of expertise that we're bringing into this project. We have very bold targets. The idea is to reduce by 3.4 million tonnes the CO2 emissions from agriculture, and the aim of that is to increase the pulse within the rotation from about 5% to about 20% that are grown, and then utilise it on farm in livestock rations to replace 50% of imported soya. Now, just to stress, we're not going to be achieving that in the project, but what we are looking to do, and you're very much part of, is proving that if we do that, then we will actually achieve those sorts of figures. So it's all about gathering the data around what pulse crops bring to the rotation and significantly the carbon emissions element of it. So as I hope you're all aware, and hopefully most of you have already established this in your fields, a rotational platform. So within your pulse crop, either your pea or bean crop, you have an area that is not growing peas and beans. We monitor the area in year 1, and then we carry on that monitoring in year 2 to see what the effect is on the wheat crop the next year. And some of you, I think we've got 1 or 2 Pulse Pioneers who are in their 3rd year and monitoring their cereal crop for the 2nd year. So we'll come to that in a minute. On top of that, I hope you're all doing treatment trials. I know that there are a lot of you who have been looking at biostimulants, and Tom gave a really fascinating insight recently to last year's trials on the biostimulants. We've had loads of conversations with people about this, by the way, people in the industry, about how we can take this forward. Some of you also looking at intercropping and bicropping, which is a very sort of key focus of interest, and whole cropping as well. We've got a few people whole cropping their pulses. So we've got pioneers who have got different roles, I guess, this year, because we've got some 1st years, some 2nd years, some 3rd years. So the sort of standard Pulse Pioneer, if you like, you're doing a rotational trial and a treatment trial and looking at the benefits for the 2027 cereal crop. We've also got Prime Pioneers who were with us last year and are monitoring their cereal crop this year, but they're also putting in another pulse crop and monitoring that as part of it. And we also have some Prime Plus Pioneers. And within the Prime Pioneers and Prime Plus Pioneers, there is the option to do an N-rate trial, and that's something that Tom will probably be talking about in a minute. And then finally, we've got some people who aren't growing the pulse crop and just doing a cereal crop, looking at the effect in year 2. We've identified 3 roles within that you will be carrying out as Pulse Pioneers. There is the trial host and the trial monitor, which is usually the same person. In fact, I think in terms of this project, that's almost certainly the same person. The trial host is very much responsible for the trial itself and the data as well, and agreeing to full access to the trial and allowing all the the activities within the trial to go on, and the trial monitor monitors it, takes the samples, sends them in, is very much a key part of that element of the trial. It's usually the same person on a farm, but sometimes you get your agronomist to do it. Project ambassador is a very important part of being a Pulse Pioneer, and this marks us out from other on-farm trials, that it's all about sharing the information. As I hope you're already aware, we try to give you as many opportunities as possible to do that. That's both in terms of online platforms, which we'll hear about in a bit, but also events as well. We've got a really busy events program, which I'll touch on in a minute, and really would like you to be part of that, and not just there to silently witness. We want you to be there to take part and lead the discussion. That's very much your role. And of course, there's payment for that as well, which I'll touch on in a minute. Just briefly to go through the protocols. I know that Tom's going to talk in more detail about this, but the sort of key elements of this is, first of all, monitoring on the soil mineral nitrogen sample that you'll be taking to get a baseline sample for your pulse crop, and also in your cereal crop to see what's happening in year 2. You'll also be need to fill in a carbon baseline on the Farm Carbon Toolkit, or if you're in year 2 or year 3, update that carbon baseline, and James will talk in more detail about that in a minute. There's then the involvement of the yen. So the sampling that you'll do for the yen, again, Tom will talk about, but at the end of the year, you'll get a yen report, which gives you the insight into the crop and so on. And there's various monitoring that you'll be doing through that. And there's also, we need your yield, and there's an LCA form to fill out. And I believe that this is all moving onto the app as well. So, but we'll talk more about that in a bit. Just to go over the payment rates. Now, there's a new payment rate, and this is new since you joined as a pioneer. So some of you may be hearing about this for the first time. Hopefully, you received a note about this before Christmas, but just in case you didn't see that, the rate for being a Pulse Pioneer has actually gone up, and this is as a result of a lot of campaigning that we've done with Innovate to say that you are worth more than £176 a day, which is what we base the payment on. They've agreed finally, and so we are rolling out that new payment rate. The difference it means to you is that you need to send us an invoice for £1,000, which is the extra difference. Sorry, that's £1,000 per pioneer, not per trial, by the way. So just to explain that, there's also there's a higher membership fee from that as well of £750, and that is because there are a lot of costs to do with promoting the trial, resourcing it, and so on and so forth. Boffin can only recover some of those costs through Innovate, and so we need to recover more of that cost. So there is a net benefit to you, but I'm afraid the net benefit is only £250. So you don't have to put in an invoice for £1,000, but if you do, then we will be invoicing you for £750 so that you get that net benefit. But I obviously strongly encourage you to, please. So those of you, so for a standard, I just want to talk through how the invoicing works. So for the standard Pulse Pioneers, for example, you've already invoiced 2,500. So you owe us another invoice of 1,000. You've already received your first instalment. This is all plus VAT, by the way, of 1,250. And some of you have already paid your membership fee. If you haven't paid your membership fee, it's now overdue. So please pay your membership fee. And that's you received the bill for that. Should have received it at the 1st of January. Those who haven't sent in an invoice yet, who are starting in April, obviously that this process is yet to come underway. But do please send in your invoice, and it'll be settled on the 31st of March. So the second instalment is where your £1,000 will be kicked in, and you'll receive a payment of 2,250 at the end of September, and then there's a membership fee that we'll bill you for at the beginning of October. So if you've got any queries about that, then please do get in touch. I'll be very happy to talk it through with you. Just to quickly point out some diary dates. this spring, we have our inspiration days. So there's the East Inspiration Day in Hertfordshire. I've got a day on my farm here. It would be lovely, lovely to see you all. And this is on the 14th of May, and where I've got not only Pulse Pioneer trial going on, but trials from all our other projects as well. So be really, really pleased to see you. Then we've also got a North Inspiration Day. I'm very excited to be going to the Arbiki Distillery for that, who are one of our Pulse Pioneers this year as well. I don't know whether, I think Kirsty might be in on the call, Kirsty Black from Arbiki there. So really excited to go there. Uh, and then there's also the Cereals event coming up on 10th and 11th of June, which as you may have heard, is taking place at Diddley Squat, Jeremy Clarkson's farm. And we're going to be having a big presence there, both on the PGRO stand and our own Boffin stand. So really, really pleased to see you there. Just want to quickly touch on, I notice I'm running out of time here. So the talking of diary dates, the Soils to Sustainability Conference that took place last week even. Thank you so much to all of those who attended, especially our Pulse Pioneers, and the workshop that we did looking at the Sustainable Proteins Plan. Really, really valuable discussion we had on that. We're bringing those ideas together, and you'll get to hear about that. And you would have also heard about the launch of the Pioneer Pods. And this is quite an important aspect of what we're going to do this year, in the third year of this project, is try to bring our pioneers together into spheres of interest, if you like. So some of you are doing biostimulants, some of you are doing intercropping, and so on and so forth. We want to bring you together into spheres of interest and give you also involve supply chain partners as well to help take your trials forward. A lot of us are in our first years of we've had our first years of doing whatever trials it is on farm. We want to carry on, develop those ideas and so on, and really get the benefit from it. We think that Pulse Pioneer Pods are the way to go forward on that. Again, very interested to hear your views on that going forward. So that's enough from me. I'm going to hand swiftly over to Tom Wilkinson, who I hope is going to talk through the protocols. Tom.
Thank you very much, Tom. So before I start sharing my screen and kind of lose the big picture of everyone, I just thought I'd ask for people who are brand new Pulse Pioneers this year to put their hand up. So there's a button at the top of the screen that says raise, just to get an idea of how many people might be seeing this for the first time. So we've got several. So we've got at least 3 or 4 new Pulse Pioneers. That's great. So this information will be new to you folks. And then for people who have been Pulse Pioneers before, there are some small changes, as Tom's mentioned before. So I will now start sharing my screen. Hopefully, has that worked? People see this? So can people see this presentation?
Yeah, it's working, Tom. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much. So, I will just give a bit of an update around what are the YENs, because as Tom mentioned, this is how we monitor the Pulse Pioneer trials and the NCS projects, how that fits into what's going on with the project aims. I talk a bit about data submission, and that's the important thing really, and then site visits and sampling. So, all right, I'll just move swiftly on. So what are the YENs? So for those who haven't been involved before, the yield enhancement networks, they're cross-industry initiatives, and it's all about understanding what limits yield and on farm and what we can do about that. And the YENs think in terms of what we call yield components. So breaking down final yield into its constituent parts so we can start to understand what might have affected that crop in that given season. So the Pulse YENs are a collaboration between ADAS and PGRO, and many of you will be having Pulse YEN entries this year. And some of you, as Tom mentioned, will also be monitoring cereal crops. So just to say that whilst the cereal YEN isn't continuing in 2026, we're still going through a similar process. So you'll still receive cereal YEN-like reports, and we'll use that framework of monitoring. So that's just to clear that up. And as I mentioned, we collect lots of different crop metrics between the fields and farms, and that's so we can understand crop development, key decision making, so agronomy choices, and then of course final performance. And when you have your reports at the end of this, your information is shared through these benchmarking charts, so you can see where the different parameters of your crop fell compared to others in the season. So you can see whether that particular crop was high or low. You can see whether one treatment had a particular high or low parameter, yield, protein, biomass, things like that. So you can easily compare across. So Tom's already spoken about this. So of course, you all know what Pulse Pioneers are, and many people will be doing split fields and also monitoring cereal crops. So as well as the YEN, we have soil mineral nitrogen. Some people will be doing soil health scorecard, and of course, there's the farm carbon toolkit benchmarking as well. I won't go through the trials because Tom's already covered that. But just to give an overview of what we'll do with the data as a collective is that for the split field trials where we're doing the rotational platforms, we'll do a cross-site analysis. So we'll take the data from across different farms to analyze the data so we can look at overall impacts of pulse cropping on things like soil mineral nitrogen, productivity, greenhouse gas emissions, and field nitrogen balance. And some of you last year will have provided your data for life cycle assessment analysis with the JHI, and they've made a start on that data now, and they're seeing some promising results. So that'll be really interesting to see as the project continues. In terms of what we're doing in nitrogen, this is relevant for those Prime Plus pioneers who might be doing nitrogen trials, is we're trying to understand how we might be able to maybe build on what's in RB209 already. So one of the things that we've seen throughout the YENS and the NCS projects is we see these associations with pulse crop performance and the amount of nitrogen that's taken up by the pulse crop. So we're kind of starting down this road of trying to understand whether we can make nitrogen rates after pulse crops a bit more specific by factoring in the performance of the previous pulse crop. So everybody is doing nitrogen N-min or SMN samples in the pulse crop year. Then everybody is collecting pulse YEN yield, biomass, and above ground N content, and then also doing N-min and SMNs in the following cereal crop. And this is going to give us a really good database to have a look at those associations. So yeah, really looking forward to see more of that N-min and SMN data coming through this spring. So I won't go through this because Tom's already covered a lot of this. Just to say that most people will be doing split field trials. Some people might be doing replicated tram lines, which are better for being more confident in treatment differences. But of course, there's a trade-off with complexity of the trial and effort. Just to say that if you are doing tramline trials, if you've got two treatments, it's of course best to alternate the treatments. Individual split field trials, because they're not replicated, it is best to treat them with a pinch of salt. But this goes back to what Tom was saying, that we get more power and confidence in the results when we cluster data together. So this is where these Pulse Pioneer pods are going to become really interesting as we go on. Just the thing about trial design. So in either case, whether it's a split field or it's a tramline trial, of course, the best thing is to try and avoid treatment areas that coincide with underlying field variation. And so I'm sure people do this in their day-to-day practice as well, but just as a reminder, you can kind of see field variation by looking at soil maps, or as well as previous yield maps if you've got yield mapping combines, and also NDVI is really powerful as well. So there's a system, a website called Data Farming, where you can get free NDVI imagery, which is really helpful. And so how to use this if you do have within field variation. I guess the first thing is that you might consider choosing a different field if you've not already started in that field. But then if not, you can try and apply the treatments in a direction that coincides with the field variation. So you can see that in this example, we have higher NDVI in this bottom half of the field. So the best thing to do here is have the treatments running kind of up the field, because then you get fair comparisons here. So that can make a real difference when interpreting the results. And for more information on this, you can kind of see the ADAS trials guide, which is on FarmPet, which Marcus will talk a bit more about later. So registering your yen entries. So this is where it's different from last year. So your details will have been or will be forwarded by Boffin to the yen. So you don't have to go onto the yen portal and register. That will be sorted out behind the scenes. You'll get a yen ID in sample packs from the yen. And just to note that the sample labels will include your treatment name. So for example, it will be kind of bean yen 2026, and then your treatment name will be here. It's really important to keep this on all the paperwork that goes through, just so we're really confident in the different treatments that have been submitted. Hillcourt Farm, I think Boffin are using Hillcourt Farm to do that NMIN analysis. That will come directly from Boffin. And then this is new for this year. The yen data will be via the Boffin app, and I think Sky will talk about that a bit later. So what will come through? So all of your sample packs will arrive shortly after registration. This will come in the form of a welcome pack, which is really different sample packs contained into the potato sets, which are used for grab samples, and you'll get one for each entry. So if you have 2 pulse entries, you'll get 2 welcome packs. They all come with prepaid post office return labels and envelopes, and it also will contain the guidance booklet. As I mentioned, for Pulse Pioneers, the soil nutrient analysis will come from Hillcourt Farm, so that won't come in your welcome pack. That will come separately. But P entries will receive a foot rot soil analysis kit as part of the welcome pack. And so you'll get sample kits for leaf samples. That will have prepaid returns that will go to land crop, and you'll get leaf nutrient analysis. We'll be doing grab samples, which are these whole plant samples shortly before harvest. They'll be put into potato sacks and sent back to ADAS via the prepaid return labels, and then seed samples. So for the bean yen, it will go to PGRO for Bruker beta analysis. For the P yen, it will go to Askew and Barrett Limited for quality analysis. And then there'll also be a sample that will be sent to land crop for nutrient analysis. And this is what it looks like. So this is what you can expect to see. As I mentioned, you won't get the soil kit for the Pulse Pioneer entries via the yen. So as part of the yen, how we break it down into different observations and visits. And these are key timings really, where we ask for specific data on the crop. So what we have in this table is we have the pulse entry information and what's required for the cereal crops as well, because some people will be comparing a pulse crop to a cereal crop, or looking at the effect of different previous crops on the next cereal crop. And so the first thing we have at growth stage 10 for going out into the field is doing plant counts. In winter beans, if you've already sown them and you're past growth stage 10, that's fine. We can still take the plant counts. There's different ways of doing this. So the first one is to use a meter stick or a quadrat to simply count the number of plants in a 1 meter squared area. Or you can take photos of the crop looking down. If you put an A4 piece of paper in that, then we can look at plant counts. I think Boffin might have developed an even more sophisticated method of doing that as well. So observations, we have site visits at 3 more growth stages. So, for example, at growth stage 34 in pulses or growth stage 31 in cereals, then we'd like to know the date of that. Some things are kind of mandatory. Some things are preferable. Of course, the more data we have, the more information will be put back into your report, and the more valuable useful and insightful that will be. And then at growth stage 34, then at growth stage 31, we've also got a leaf tissue sampling. At growth stage 60, so first flower in the pulses, and 41 flag leaf emerging, then we have another leaf tissue sample. And also what's really valuable information is knowing the end date of flowering for pulses, because the duration of flowering is quite important for final yield. So we ask for a date of end flowering as well. So some tips for leaf tissue sampling. So this is all via Landcrop. It's suggested that you sample on Monday to Wednesday, and this is just to make sure that samples aren't sitting kind of in the post office over the weekend. It's suggested to sample 300 to 400 grams of the youngest mature leaf. So this means kind of walking through the field and taking leaves from separate plants, from 5 to 20 points. Make sure to avoid leaves showing pest disease or other damage. If the sample is wet, then block dry, just to make sure that it lasts whilst it's sent to the lab. And then if the sample is taken at flowering, then please sample before any foliar products have been applied. So we know what the crop was like before any, foliar nutrition was applied. So grab samples. So this is really the final kind of in-field sampling that goes on. So this is what we do to get a lot of information about the biomass, the harvest index, the straw and pod nutrition, the crop physiology of the crop. This is required for both the pulse crop and the cereal crop, and it's done several days before harvest. And essentially, you would go to 5 points across the field area and take about 5 plants from each area, so you get exactly 25 plants in the sample. And you can see here there's a diagram of how you might do that. So you could do kind of one walk down the field, take samples from either side, and then you could kind of walk back up the area as well. There is a video on YouTube on how to do this. And just as a final note for the pulse crops, it's important not to separate the stems because how much a pulse crop branches is really important information on how that forms yield. So for the pulse crops, what we suggest is to simply pull them out the ground, or if you need to cut them because the ground is very dry, then please do that before the branching occurs, so at the very base of the plant. So monitoring yield. So Sky's going to talk a bit more about the Boffin app, and I think all the information can be submitted through there. So that will include yield. But the Pulse Yens, they do have a competition element, which you can enter if you wish. So if you want to enter that competition, in your welcome pack, you will get a yield submission form. And all you do is you take the sticker that will be sent to you with your yen number, stick it on there and fill in this information. For the competition, we do ask for a weighbridge ticket, and this is just so we can make it fair. And if yield is measured via weighbridge, then what we need to know is the harvest area. So if you have a yield mapper, you can use it to work that out. You could get that from tractor or spray mounted RTK, or you could use kind of farm management software, or even kind of measuring tape and wheels for smaller areas. What we need to know is the weight of the fresh seed at harvest, and then the average moisture content of the seed. If you are using a yield monitor, then of course make sure that's calibrated and let us know the date of when that was last calibrated as well. So seed samples, this is the final sample, and this is really an important one because from this we get the 1,000 seed weight, we'll get the quality information, we'll get the nutrition as well. So that's really important for understanding how the crops fix nitrogen. And from the seed weight, we can work out how many seeds the crop has set after flowering. And that's really important information for knowing what might have limited that crop's performance. So how you do that is you take around 800 to a kilo sample using kind of a tub or a bucket from each. So the best way to do that is to take smaller samples from each trailer load and then mix them together. Of course, being very careful when taking samples from trailer loads. So take-home messages. Plan treatment areas carefully to get the best results. So looking at underlying field variation from NDVI or previous yield maps or soil maps can be really beneficial to make sure that you're not cutting across underlying field variation. All the sample kits will come via Yen, except for the soil mineral nitrogen samples. Boffin have passed on your entry details, so you don't need to do that separately. And Sky will talk about the Boffin app. And you'll get more detailed guidance on each observation and sampling activity within the welcome pack. If you have any problems, please get in touch with yen@adas.co.uk. And please copy in kind of Sky or Laura from Boffin with any questions as well. So thank you very much. I'll stop sharing now. So any questions after that?
Well, with slightly shorter time, let's move straight on to Mark.
Sorry, yes. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Tom. So yeah, as Tom from Boffin mentioned in his presentation, one of your roles as Pulse Pioneer is to be a project ambassador. And one of the ways that you can do that really effectively is through sharing your trial on FarmPep. So I'll just share my screen to talk you through the process. I know that many of you are returning Pulse Pioneers, so you will have done this before. So I'll just quickly show how that's done. So the first thing you'll need to do is to join FarmPep. Now this is very quick, sort of allows you to just create an account and you can personalize it a little bit to which will just help in terms of the content that you're shown. But that will allow you to contribute to the community. So to upload your trial plan, we would ask you to upload it as a resource. And the way that you can do that is to just click this little plus next to the resources area on the home page. So once you click that, you'll be taken through to the add page sort of area. As you can see, that will automatically default to the page type resource if you click that little plus button at the start there. We'll ask you to put in a little title. We will also be sending round a template for your trials in your welcome pack. So what that means is that you can either type in the details of your trial into these areas here, or if you would prefer, you can fill out that template, and then we have a little button in the upload form, which is add a new file. A lot of these parameters you can ignore. We would ask that an image is really helpful because that just allows us to have a thumbnail for your trial so it appears a bit nicer on the page when people are searching through. But the majority of these parameters you can ignore. All that's absolutely required is the title and the information on your trial, which can be provided either in the form of typing in through these boxes or through adding your template through the file area here. In terms of these other bits, you can ignore these because once you click these two boxes and then upload, create page and become a member, the page will go through to a holding area, and in that area I can then assign your page to the correct area of the site in terms of connecting it to topics and everything like that. So it is sort of quite a daunting form when you look at it, but the majority of it you don't have to worry about. So just focus on getting the information that you want to communicate to people who might be interested in learning about your trial. And then the final thing that I just wanted to show you was that within our Pulse Pep area, there's lots of really useful resources, topics pages, upcoming events that that you can sort of follow along, see all the other Pulse Pioneer trials, and get lots of really useful information on not just the project, but other areas of pulse cropping research that are happening. So really useful thing for you to look at. I'll just stop sharing there. I think that's everything from me. Just to say as well, in your welcome email, my contact details will be provided. So if you would like me to talk through that again or help you with uploading, I'm really happy to do that. So I think I'll pass over to James now from Farm Carbon Toolkit.
Yeah, thank you, Marcus. Yeah, and I'll rattle on so that we can gain a bit of time. I know we've got a few new people to have never done a farm footprint before, so I'm just going to put a little link in the chat to a help video for you guys. It will just run you through doing your first ever footprint. But for the people that have been here before, what I'll do is we'll just share a presentation. Hopefully you should be seeing this now. And I'll just hide that one as well so that you're not seeing yourselves. And yeah, I'm just going to give you a quick rattle through how you do a update to your report and how you can essentially take what you've done already, because you've done the hard work, and just quickly update it for the next year's carbon footprinting. These slides will be made available for you, so if you want to scroll through them at your own rate, you can do. And just there's a bit more information about some other aspects of the calculator on there too. But like I say, you have done the hard bit. You have already made a report. You will have made it last year, the year before for some of you. And it will have most of the core information about your farm on it. So all we want you to do really is copy that report and just go through the numbers and just update them where's necessary. So to do that, just head to your dashboard. So you're using your same login details that you've signed in with before. If you have any issues with any of this, please just email us and we'll get you set up. And make sure that everything is working for you. And what you'll see is on your dashboard, you'll see the report that you made. So I just highlighted one down here, and you just need to click the copy button. And what that will do is it will make a carbon copy of the report that you made last year. It will load you straight into that report. And what you'll want to do is you'll want to go up to the top of the report and just change the title to make sure that the reporting period is appropriate to you. So you just click on the Edit Report Details button, go into the drop down, maybe add extra information to the title if that's something that's relevant to you, and then just change the date so it's relevant to the date you're on. Now what you have is you have two reports, one report for, in this case, 2024, and then another report for 2025. But they contain the same data. So what you want to spend a bit of time doing is then going through each of the tabs. So you'd go on you'd click the edit button for your data, and you'd go for each of the tabs, like the fuels tab, like the crops tab, the inputs tab, anything else, and just go through and just double check these quantities and make sure they align with what you had for your second reporting period. So maybe you've worked out that you could use less fuel, so maybe you've reduced your diesel usage, or maybe you didn't have to dry your crops because it was a particularly hot year, so maybe your electricity usage has gone in. And to edit any of those numbers, it's really easy. You've got an edit button in here. There's also now a brand new copy button. This slide's a little bit old. So if you wanted to add more things, you can either use the copy button to duplicate something, or you can use the add new button to add an entirely new item to your footprint. That way you can just, you've got all of the items that are relevant to your farm. You don't need to go through the lists of what's there and what's not. And you can add, delete, edit any of those items to make them relevant to your second year of cropping. Once you've got your two reports, once you've gone through and edited it, what you'll probably want to do on your own, and just for your own sanity and for your own intrigue, is do a comparison between the two reports. So I thought I'd just give you a quick idea of how to do that. So we do have a direct comparison button on the calculator itself. So on your dashboard, again, you'll see a big green box that says comparisons. Just click on the compare button, and what it will do is it'll take you to a screen with a list of your reports from your dashboard. And you can see here I just highlighted the two that are relevant, and you just make sure that you check the ones that you want to compare, click compare, and you'll get a comparison report. So you'll see what has changed between year one and year two, and you'll be able to sort of delve into some of the key things. So for example, in this case, the overall emissions have gone down, which has reduced their overall carbon balance in year two. I can't remember specifically what I changed in this report. I think I shifted them from red diesel to biodiesel, but yeah, you can go and explore that on your own. Also allows you to go and do some scenario planning as well if you're thinking about future years. So really, the process of copying your reports is really simple. Comparisons is really simple. If you have any questions about it at all, just get in contact with us. We've got contact details on the main website that you'll have seen. My email address is there. The general email address is there. I think all of our info is on the Pulse PEP as well. So yeah, if there's anything you need to ask about, send it our way. But most of you will be experts at this, so I don't want to waste your mornings going through something we've already done. So we can move straight on and make up a bit of time if you want, Tom.
Great, thank you very much, James. We'll pass straight on to Skye then to introduce you to the app.
Okay, I'll just share my screen with you. Here we are. Hopefully you can see this. So, hi everyone. For those of you that don't know me or haven't met me yet, my name's Skye. You'll hear a lot from me. I'm the project coordinator here at Boffin, and we're really excited to get underway with this year's trials and to have you all on board again. And I hope this meeting's been really useful for you so far. So I'm just going to spend the next 10 minutes or so introducing you to our brand new Boffin Trialist app, which is going to be your kind of one-stop call for your data collection within this project this year. So first off, I just wanted to go through some of the reasons we decided to develop our own app in the first place. We're aware that there are many apps and websites and pages and resources within agriculture, all claiming to be better than the rest for data collection. So why do we think we're any different? First things first, who wouldn't want to see more of our beautiful Boffin Pink branding on an app? But also, having an app designed by us means we can tailor it to export data and hold data in the exact way in which we need it to. Also, it makes it really easy for us to track farmer progress on various tasks without having to always reach out and pester you. But there's 3 key reasons I want to delve into a little deeper. So the first reason is that having to collect a lot of data over a long period of time can be difficult to manage. And from feedback from farmers involved in other trial work, we know the resources previously offered have just not been quite fitting for what we've needed. So we've designed this app to ensure data collection and storage is as easy as it can be and simple to complete and safe to store. The second reason came again from farmer feedback suggesting that due to the quantity of data needed to be collected, it was difficult to stay on top of the various deadlines, and none of the apps or resources we were using managed to solve this problem for us. So again, we created this app with this in mind, creating clear and simple checklists for you with notification reminders for each of the tasks needed to be completed as part of the project. And the final reason I'll go into briefly is that as part of each project we're involved with at Boffin, we like to make sure that we supply the farmers with plenty of useful resources to aid them in completing their trials and learning more about the different techniques, skills, technology and trial work being completed. However, when these come in different forms or across different platforms, it can be hard to manage and remember where all of them are. So through this app, we're providing one area which you'll be able to find all the resources relevant to the project, and where relevant, they'll take you straight through to the Farm PEP page or the Farm Carbon Toolkit page or whatever other pages that the resources are linked to. Okay, so what will you be using the app for? As part of your involvement in the NCS project, you'll have various tasks that you need to complete along the way. And when you're in the app, you'll be able to see all these tasks within your progress checklist, which will look something like this. A lot of the tasks will require you to collect and enter data relevant to your trial you've got on your farm. And all of the data entry is in the style of a form, which will look something like this. This checklist also has a progress bar, so every time you complete a task, it will add points to your bar to help you stay on track and see how close you are to completing. Through the app, you'll also be able to view all the project resources, as mentioned previously, in one place to make it really easy for you to find any guidance or support documents that you need for completing the trial. You'll also have access to the various discussion forums and groups we have in place in order for you to exchange knowledge or ask questions to other trialists, interested farmers and project partners. This is a really important part of your involvement and is crucial to collecting your project ambassador points. So make sure to share lots of updates and pictures as the trials are underway. So how can you start using the app? You will have received a link in the WhatsApp chat. Hopefully it's coming into you now, or a text for those that aren't on WhatsApp. It's important that you open this link on your phone so that it opens up in your phone's web browser. You'll come onto a login page that looks something like this. You don't need to log in yet, but we will want to grant the app permissions to use your camera and location services. If you're on Android, you don't need to do this step just yet, as when you go to use these services, it will prompt to give you permissions then. I'm going to talk through it rather quickly, but if anyone needs independent support, I'm very happy. If you want to just give me a call or a Teams or whatever, and I'll go through it with you individually. But so if you don't do it at this stage with the permissions, you're going to likely be pestered every time you go to use one of the services. So it's very useful to do it now. So you can just go onto the icon that looks like this, or press the 3 dots where it says website settings and turn the camera and location service permissions to allow. Okay, so now permissions have been set, you can download the app onto your home screen. To do this, you can click the little button that looks like this and press add to home screen. Once you've done this, our app will show up on your home screen just like your other apps, and you can delete it from your web browser. And now whenever you go to use the app, you can access it on your home screen. Now, if you try to log in, your username will be the same one that we use to correspond with you on anything about the project. Please make sure to enter this in all lowercase letters. For a lot of you, you're already on the app through other projects, so you've already got your login details and you should be able to get onto that just fine. But for the most of you, your password will follow this format. So it'll be your first name with a capital first letter, 2025 exclamation mark. Okay. Just a quick note about offline use. Once you have logged into the installed app while online, it will be available to use offline as long as you stay logged in. You can even close the app completely while logged in, and the app will remember your details and continue to work as normal with no need for an internet connection. And any data that you enter will be stored and sent to the Boffin servers when you next have a good internet connection to your device. All that we ask is that if you know you haven't got great signal, when you do get back to a Wi-Fi zone, if you can just open up the app, it just gives it time to let that data upload onto our side. If not, I'll get in touch about resending drafts and things like that. So it's not a problem either way. But if you log out while offline, you won't be able to log in again until you're next connected to the internet. The app will remind you of this if you try to log out while offline. But yeah, so just make sure to always log in if you know you're going to be using it in an area with no signal. A quick note, as we're still in the process of setting up your trial plans, for the time being, please just log into the app, have a look around, make sure that you can get in, but don't fill anything out yet. Once we've received your yen codes, we'll be setting each of your profiles up to display exactly the forms that are needed for your particular involvement. And I'll alert you of this once ready via WhatsApp, and probably at the time that we send your welcome emails. Once you have got your yen codes through, it's really, really important that you complete the field data form first, so that we've got that background information before you start filling in any of the other yen information. It's really important to us that this app works well for you and makes involvement in our trials easier. So if along the way you have any questions or concerns about absolutely anything, please do get in touch with me and I'll be more than happy to support. And also, if you have any feedback around the way in which things are laid out or displayed, or you think there's anything missing, please do let us know. It's the first year that we've released this app for the trial work, so I'm sure there's probably lots of things we've missed along the way. And you can either contact me at sky@boffin.org.uk, or we do actually have a new tech support joining the team shortly. And as I say, details will be shared within your welcome email on who you can reach out to for those support questions. And that's all from me.
Great. Thanks a lot, Skye. And thank you also to James and Marcus and Tom for their really good explanations of what to do. I'm a Pulse pioneer myself, so I'll be doing everything like everyone else. So we've just got a little bit of time. I'm sorry we've slightly overrun, but we've got a little bit of time for questions. So really welcome anyone who wants to put forward a question. I noticed there were one or two things, questions, queries going on in the chat. If you haven't opened up the chat, by the way, there are some really useful links that some of our panelists have put in there, and also in going on in the background if you needed anything. Hopefully you have had a chance to have a look at the app. Is there anyone who's got any? If you want to ask a question, if you'd just like to raise your hand, as I say, there's one or two things in the. I mean, one element is about the app, and I don't know whether while Skye was talking, whether you had a look to see whether you could get it on your phone for those who haven't got it on your phone yet, and whether that was working okay. As Skye said, this is the first year that we have introduced the app. So you are your beta testers as well as users of the app. So your feedback is really, really valuable. As Skye said, we're about to get a proper tech support person who's going to join us, who should be available, sort of during business hours to get in touch with, to go through any problems that you've got. But what we're really, really looking for is feedback on the app, and so that we can help develop it as a really useful tool, in-field tool for you. Have you? Is there anyone who's got any specific questions if they'd like to raise it in the last few minutes of this? No questions as far as I can see. I'm sure that doesn't mean we've answered all of your queries. So if you did want to come back, ask anything, then do please come on. One of the most effective ways of asking a query is on the WhatsApp group, which I hope you've all joined. And I've been getting various pings that come up on it. It's a really, really useful way to share information. There's also the farming forum, as well as Skye mentioned, which is part of the Pulse PEP, and that's where your trial information, where you can access your trial information and all the stuff to do with Farm PEP, Pulse PEP as well. So please do use that. Have a look around now as to what the various platforms are that you've heard about today on the call. If you've got any queries or questions, then please do come back to us. What we're really looking for is to build a vibrant community of trialists. One of the things to note, by the way, is the Yen Awards last week. There was one farmer, you may know him, whose bean crop yielded 9 tons per hectare. 9 tons per hectare. I mean, that's just staggering. Now, that is the sort of place. That's where we can go. That's our ambition. We do have a challenge, if you like, that if we're going to satisfy the demand for pulse crops in the UK, we need to produce another 1.6 million tons. You're going to be driving that, and in terms of what you find out in your trials, you're going to be developing the knowledge that's going to help that. And so we want to help you do that, and we want to help you get better, bigger, more profitable crops, and really understand how to get the best out of your pulse crops on your farm. But it's really important that you get involved and that you share that knowledge as well. So again, listen, we've come to the end of our thing. Any questions or queries, please come back to us. Anything at all that you've heard about on this. We want to make sure that this year is going to be a really successful trialist year for you. So thank you very much for joining, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.